Hey everyone, welcome back to More Flesh and Bad. And before we get into the video, I wanted to record like a quick intro to just mention stuff about our channel. So we're sitting at roughly 100 videos, so this is going to be our 100th video, which is very, very exciting, and we're at almost 500 subscribers. So I wanted to thank you all for the continued support on the channel. This is a shared effort between me and Tegan, so we hope you all have been liking the gameplay and the content we're producing, especially the thumbnails, which we both kind of work on. Yeah, but thank you all for your continued support. Again, it's been really fun making a lot of this stuff, so I'm glad you all enjoy. I did want to mention that we are planning on moving eventually. So the next couple weeks, we're planning on doing a big move. So that might kind of impact the overall scheduling. Like we might not be able to do daily videos where we have been kind of consistently doing them. So yeah, just keep that in mind. Again, we might have like videos every like week or so instead of every day at some point. But we're probably gonna try to get back on schedule in about a month, and then just keep making games, keep having fun, keep making memes. Shut up me. But anyways, thank you all for your kind of continued support on the channel. And yeah, with that, we'll go ahead and get into the video. Hey everyone, welcome back to More Flesh and Bad, and today I'm going to be going over my top secret PQ deck list. So this is something that I've been cooking up to handle kind of like new Dio meta, and I'm going to kind of share the list and my thoughts, and we got some very interesting spice, although it's not currently on the screen. But yeah, we're just going to go into the deck tech.
Cool. I'm going to ask a few questions. So first off, is the spice count your blessings?
No, the spice does not count your blessings. So we're running just a clean 60 here. And then we'll get into the sideboard in a second. But basically, this is kind of almost like a standard Zen list. We're at 29 blues, 31 reds. Pretty stock standard. Again, I think the spiciest thing here is like the two cosmics, so it's mostly just to deal with like CYB fatigue, which I didn't run into today. But yeah, overall, just very generic, good stuff deck. We are currently at 25 combo cards, so pretty decent combo ratio. A little bit low for my liking, but again, we need to make a little bit of room for the secret tech. And do you want to reveal what the secret tech is?
Yeah, so what is the secret tech and what is the secret tech for?
Yeah, so the secret tech is mainly for Aurora and Dio, which have been the two heroes I've been testing most into. Also, tangentially for Viscerai, but again, I didn't get a lot of reps on Viscerai before then. And as you can see by the win rate, pretty solid into those heroes. Like I think we're sitting at what, like 75% or 66% to Aurora, pretty high into Dio, almost like 80%, and then Viscerai also like 66%. So really good stats. I think also like these are I gave it to a couple of friends to play test and try, but these are my personal results. So play tested it over the last week to try to iron out some kind of like deck building stuff. But anyways, so we'll go back to the list. But yeah, so far stock standard Zen list, and then let's get into the spice. So in the board, we have basically a React package almost exclusively for Aurora and Dio. So we have 4 wax on, 3 wax off to hopefully hit the Zen State Dream, which is actually very consistent against Dio. Against Aurora, it's a little bit less consistent, but we'll get into that. We also have Flick Flack as just a generically good value card, and then one of Erase Face because I didn't know what to put in the last sideboard slot, and putting AB3 felt weird with Kano being kind of on the out. So yeah, Tegan is dooming on Kano as well. So yeah, overall, this is kind of like the spice package. Again, there are kind of some substitutions you can make for this, and we'll get into that in a second. But again, this is kind of what the Dio matchup looks like. So if we pull up the Dio tab here, we're basically running a clean 60 with the goal to eventually try to fatigue them with wax on, wax off. So you can actually pretty consistently make a Zen State into Dio, and there's not a lot they can do about it because of like they commit the high octane, you wax on their first attack, and you wax off whenever like they're threatening Boom Grenade or something. So you can basically almost always guarantee at least like 1 or 2 Zen States throughout the entire game, which is very, very strong. And you'll notice here we're actually boarding out a lot of our chi to basically reduce the amount of no blocks in our deck. So we're cutting out a lot of 2 blocks, but we're leaving in some of the 2 blocks that have combo and that are blue. So again, that's kind of like a deck building concession, but most of our deck is 3 blocks, so that's why the Easter eggs are here. The whole goal is basically to try to fatigue Dio just outright. Yeah, so that's kind of the spice of the list, basically, or like what it's for.
Well, I have a question for you.
Yeah.
So did you end up pairing into Dio? And also, what were your pairings?
Yeah.
This
So
this PQ.
we'll go into the PQ results. So first round was KO. This was Parker, who was one of our locals, and I actually got him with the psyop because I played CYB. What?
Such a dirty psyop,
Yeah,
too.
it was really dirty psyop. So I played Count Your Blessings on our armory on Friday, and then I played into Parker and I beat Parker on KO. And then I come to the next day, don't bring CYB, but I just bring like a basically a normal Zenless. This is like it's a little bit weird, but like I'm not running like wax on wax off into KO. So if you look at my KO matchup, it's like
Normal.
it's a little bit messed up because I think I'm supposed to cut like 3 cards here. Yeah, but anyways, I'll fix that after this. But anyways, yeah, if you look at my KO matchup, it's basically like a clean 60, no fatigue nonsense, or anything like that. So, pretty brutal for Parker. That I think he like also fat decked a little bit. So I felt a little bit bad for psyoping whatever locals, but it was kind of fun.
Psyops, that's the whole point of doing
It is the whole point of
psyop the locals.
Yeah. So that's how to emotionally manipulate your friends and loved ones. But yeah, that was the first round. I won. Not too much to say. Next round was against Enigma, and I feel pretty confident in the Enigma matchup on this match in this list. But I will come to eat my words. So I pretty handily beat Jude in the Enigma matchup. I just like found all my transcended super early. Jude didn't get a mirror guy, and I basically was able to just kind of steamroll him a little bit. So I felt very confident going into that matchup. Again, Enigma generally is not a great matchup or Zen into Enigma is generally not a great matchup. Just because you have so many go again breakpoints, like it's kind of hard for them to deal with, especially if you hit transcends and get if you get a little bit lucky, like the game is almost entirely in your favor. So that was a really good match for me. Then the third match I played against Azalea, so this was another local. Nothing much to say here other than Warmongers was really strong, and then I think they also had like a couple like brick turns where they drew like 4 buffs and a Rain Razors. So kind of unfortunate for them. But again, I did just kind of like outvalue them with like needles and CNC, so you can look at my Azalea matchup. We're on needles, like CNC, Warmongers, so overall like quite solid. I also do bring in the wax ons in that matchup because
No wax offs though.
no wax offs because I think it's a little too cute against Azalea because you're generally not going to be able to cover more than that. But 0 for 5 block is like very very solid. So this is also like kind of good into Aurora. The hero, not me. Azalea, it's actually quite good because you can cover like a drill shot for 5 or like some like they have a lot of 0 costs that you can cover. So that was the third round, and then the fourth round I actually lost into a Vynnset. So I did my standard kind of aggressive package. Yeah, pretty much no reacts, just a clean 60. I also did no AB because I figured it was going to be like an aggro Vynnset, but it was not. It was like a more control-y Vynnset, which was very cool. So that was a very cool deck. I lost because again, needles into like a deck with all 4 blocks is quite bad. But I think if I were to run it back, I'd probably be able to like run gloves and like do pretty fine in that matchup. So maybe against Vynnset, you want to like use gloves.
Do you think there's any consideration for wax on, wax off into Vynnset just as end state?
It's tough because I think that you're losing a lot of value if you do that because a lot of their play pattern is that they build a bunch of rune chants and then they send their attack. So like you don't actually get the opportunity to wax on wax off before they attack.
That makes sense.
So and generally Vincent's only sending like 1 to 2 big attacks per turn unless they like creepers and something. But anyways, I don't think it's actually that good. Like whatever you're gaining on like the rune chant value, they can also just like stack the rune chants, so it's kind of like awkward. So this package is mostly into Dio and like Aurora and Viscerai, although I'm kind of a little bit more I haven't tested this a ton into Aurora Viscerai. I've tried to get as much practice as I can, but still to be determined whether or not this is actually solid. But yeah, so that was round 4, and then round 5.
Round 5.
Round 5, I finally paired into the Dio. There were like 4 Dios out of like 30 something players. And it was like a complete wash. I got like 3 Zen states out. 2 of them were at the same time. I felt really bad, but also it was really cool to watch just like wax on, wax off on a Dio.
I was sitting next to the game, and at one point, he was like, "Oh no, another Sensei." I looked at her, I was like, "Oh yeah, we play tested this. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know if there's much you can do into this deck."
Yeah, I think Dios can actually kind of do something yet if they like fat deck and like bring in like Tekla Pounders or something, but even then it's not super consistent.
They
So
have to know as
they have
well.
to
If
know as
they
well.
know, I think there's more counterplay. But
Yeah, but
if they're just like not expecting to get Zen stated a
yeah.
bunch, then oh boy.
So yeah, having access to 3 Zen states over the course of the game is very, very powerful, especially into Dio, who has like high octane stuff. Overall, very, very like it was a very, very clean game. Like I basically won 20 points higher than the opponent or something like that. And it felt like there was not a ton they could have done there. So the Dio tech worked. By the way, very good, solid tech package. Would I probably reduce this in the future? Yeah, it seems a little bit excessive just for Dio. Although like Flick Flacks and Waxons are pretty good into other matchups like New, Azalea, Aurora, like that kind of thing. So yeah, and then with that, I made it to top 8 on a 4-1. Tegan also made it. I think you're on 4. You're 3-2.
Nope, 4-1.
You're 4-1 as well. So yeah, we were both 4-1. Things are looking pretty good. And then the final round, I got, or sorry, the first round top 8, I got repaired in the same Enigma, and it was the most disgusting Enigma high roll I think I've ever seen. So they basically, I went first and passed basically to just deny like auras. Turn 1, I draw a chi off the, or I draw a path will travel off the top. I have levels in arsenal. I'm like, oh, this is a really good hand. And then I get Phantasmaclasmed, putting the path will travel on the bottom. And then I take 9, so that's obviously not great. And then I'm basically not able to transcend for the entire game at that point. Although they basically did that same exact play where I drew a chi and then they Phantasmaclasmed again at the later point in the game. So they hit me with 2 Phantasmaclasms that bottom transcend cards, which is really bad. And then also they got double Mirror Guy out on like turn 2. So they went Mirror Guy, transcend, play out another Mirror Guy, and then swing with both, which was quite nasty. So yeah, that was also not great. It was probably the most disgusting. Like if you could manufacture a Enigma high roll, that was probably like what the game was. So like everything that went wrong for me, everything that could have gone wrong for me went wrong for me that game, and then I just got like absolutely stomped. Unfortunate game, but again, that's kind of how it is sometimes. So yeah, that was kind of my PQ results. Again, I think I would have done a little bit better, but bad variance is bad variance. Anyways, yeah, I'm actually really impressed with this list, and I think I actually played this pretty well today. And again, I think I'm pretty happy with my result, and especially with the wax on wax off package, which ended up being really good into deal. But yeah, that's kind of the list, and I do want to talk about some like potential changes. So
Yeah, what would you change given the results today?
yeah, so the wax on off package is actually quite good in the deal, but you can probably cut down on a little bit of it, like maybe bring in like 3 wax on, 2 wax off, or like there's some ratio here that I think is probably like reasonable, like maybe 3 and 3 or like 3 and 2 or something like that. You can also bring in cards like Dense Boomist against Dio, like I think it's actually quite solid. One card that is notably missing from my deck is Tiger Eye Reflex, which I talked about being a very good card, and I think it is still a good card. The only problem I have with this card is that if you're running like a very defensive package like this, it makes it so that there's not a ton of room for cards like this, especially like block cards. It's very, very good, and don't get me wrong, like I don't think it would have helped the games that I was missing it basically, but like the card is still very, very good for what it does. But if you're running a lot of D-Reacts, it kind of makes the deck a little bit clunkier, which is why I'm not running it here. Also, notable cards sink below. Like you could probably like substitute that for like Flip Flack or something. But I think like too many reacts is kind of bad. You want to have like a good mid range package, especially against like Florian and stuff like that, which I think this deck is. Although we are like main decking the Warmongers, so it's a little bit clunky. But again, I think it's probably fine to just have like a blue 3 block in your deck that costs 0. And yeah, other considerations are like Key Unleashed, Cosmics, and then Censor was actually kind of a card I was also playing around to kind of deny high octane turns. Also because we didn't have our array spaces. Yeah. So Censor is like a very cute card, but I tested it and it wasn't like amazing. It kind of bricks your hand, especially bad if you're running like Breed Angers, Monkeys, Bittering Thorns, etc. Yeah, but that's kind of the core idea of the deck, and then we're also on AB2 needles. Again, not much to talk about the AB. Again, you bring it in against like Runeblade sometimes. I still don't think you run AB into Aurora, but again, I need to test that matchup more. It's a little bit difficult. But yeah, that's kind of the core idea of the deck. And any other questions?
Honestly, no. I think you covered it pretty well. Like yeah, the spice must flow, and
Yeah,
this is why you called was it Nathan Crawford a narc for
yeah.
spilling the potential beans on the
So
how
I
good
okay.
Zen State is.
So Nathan Crawford was talking about a defensive package that is good into both Azalea and Dio, and I think like also Viscerai maybe he was hinting
Mhm.
at. Again, I don't know if this is the exact package he was talking about. I can also see that being Dense Blue Mist,
I think he mentioned something about like think about how
having like
good
a
Zen
react spec.
State is
Yeah,
into Rune
yeah,
Chains. It's
exactly.
like
So I do want to test this more in Viscerai. I feel like I wasn't able to get enough reps into good Viscerais to see if this was actually like reasonable into them because I don't think you run all four. I don't think you run all seven of these. Basically, maybe you run like 3 and 2 or something. But yeah, Dense Blue Mist is also a very powerful card in Dio, which I was considering. But again, these have a little bit of overlap with other decks like Aurora and Viscerai, which I was trying to target. But again, I didn't get enough testing to see if those are actually kind of good into Aurora and Viscerai. Yeah, but that's kind of the core idea of the deck, at least. There's probably some room for changes. So like, I would maybe cut down on like maybe like a yellow wax on was a little too cute, plus one wax off maybe, or like maybe you just keep 3 and 3. I need to play around with the ratios a little bit more. I could also see maybe boarding out some of these sideboard slots so you can like board out Wongers and then put in like a more aggressive card into matchups like Enigma so you don't brick as often. But yeah, that's kind of the core idea of the deck, and we're gonna do like 1 or 2 games on it just to kind of demonstrate. But I will try to post this tonight, ideally. Yeah, but I'm overall happy with my results. We got $100 between us at the store, so yeah, it's a pretty good night, you know.
yeah.
But yeah, with that, I think we'll go ahead and get into the game. All right, looks like we've got a Dio. So this is going to be kind of an example of the Dio game plan. And this is R60. We're just going to submit it and run it and hope it goes well. So against Dio, our main plan is fatigue. Again, we do have to check the deck size, so we might need to do like a tempo game plan if they are stacking us, but we'll see. Again, I think most of the time they are running a clean 60. Looks like they're on 63, which is a little bit above average, but again, I think that's fine. So we see 2 wax off in our hands, which means we do need to find a wax on, but I'm not actually that upset at seeing the second wax off. The command is a little bit clunky, but I think we can probably make it work. All right, looks like they're starting with a 0 to 60. I think I will just go ahead and block 3 here. Again, blocking is our basically our win condition here. Oh, and high octane this early is very good for us. Especially with no setup, I think is very, very nice. All right, looks like they're getting a cerebellum and passing. Okay, that is not exactly what I expected. Interesting. So here we can use our needles pretty aggressively because, again, needles are not necessarily in this matchup for damage. We're mostly just trying to take them off cards, especially when they're on cerebellum. So we're going to start by attacking for 1, and then we're going to needle, breed anger. And if they pop both our needles on turn 1, I think I'm just okay with that because our end game is fatigue, basically. Especially if they're on 63 cards and we have half of our combo already in hand, I think we're in a very good spot. We could be a little conservative here and just send 4, but again, I don't think there's necessarily a need to do that. So we'll go ahead and needle now. And then if they want to break it, that's fine. If they don't want to break it, that's also very fine for me. So we get 8 free value here, which is very, very nice. And we'll send in 4. And again, we just want to save as much life total as possible, especially if they're only on 63 cards. We also get the crown out of the way early, which means that our CNCs are now live. This hand's pretty good. We have a Flick Flack, which can block 4, and then 2 combo cards, so we get 9 block out of these 2, and then 5 additional blocks, so this hand blocks basically 14, right? Looks like we will get a nice little breakpoint cover here with the Flick Flack. So we can completely cover this. Banishing a Spark of Genius, also love to see that. So we've seen two pretty key threats in the matchup in the Spark of Genius, two Spark of Geniuses down and a High Octane down, so I'm very happy with this. We also have a Cerebellum on the field, but we can clear most of the counters off of it. Again, I am kind of slanted more towards blocking, so I'm going to block with the Breed Anger here in case we want to just send Monkey on return if they don't give us any more cards, which is kind of reasonable. We won't get to send our one of Erase Face here, but I don't think it's completely necessary, especially when they don't have a ton of setup here. Our play most likely is going to be just block whatever they do next. Sure. All right, that is the second High Octane down, which is, again, a very important threat to get rid of. So I am looking pretty good here. Again, we don't have a ton of Transcend cards in our deck. So we have, I think, 4 or 5. I forget exactly what I landed on. But the goal is that we basically are just trying to transcend once just to turn on Traverse, and then we have our Zen state basically live for the rest of the game. Okay, we still not found our Waxon, so we do have 4 Waxons left in the bottom 49, which again is pretty expected. I don't think that's necessarily unlucky or anything. We do have another decent blocking hand. Again, 100 wins being a little awkward, but again, it's not going to matter here. I think we're just safe to cover another 5 here. Again, I like blocking out the first attack because it makes them kind of more cautious about developing out boom grenades. All right, we see a Fast and Furious and a 0 to 60 also banished, which is pretty good. Pitching a Cerebellum, I think, is also very good for us. Means that they might, well, they can always like tutor it or whatever, but kind of means that it's unlikely to come up at least in the next couple turns. These DO games typically go to like turn 8 generally, so if we can basically live until turn 8, we're probably fine. All right, looks like we have an outpace, which we are not going to be able to block effectively. So we will leak 3 damage, but I think that's going to be okay. We'll play Warmongers next turn, just to kind of disrupt them if they want to have like a big turn with their Cerebellum. Or I guess their Cerebellum was going away, so it depends what they play out here. All right, another Zephyr hit. Boosting a backup Protocol Red. So they will have a 5-card hand next turn. I'm kind of inclined to just not block this. So we'll leak a little bit of damage here. Go to 31. But that's fine. And that is a pretty big max V as well. Okay, given that they have that, now I'm more inclined to just block out with the Warmongers because them on a 4-card hand is not incredible. All right, so they do get us down to 24, which is kind of to be expected, but we'll just draw up. Hopefully we can find a Waxon by the time they High Octane again. But it looks like we just got 12 block. So again, I'm still pretty happy with this, especially in the DO. Again, our late game is fatigue. We still have all of our armor up, which can cover a lot of breakpoints. So things are still looking good. And I don't think this red boom grenade is probably going to hit this turn. All right, there is the second to last Cerebellum, and we did see them pitch one early on, so that's going to be at the bottom of their deck, which is quite nice for us. All right, another red boom grenade. So we are not letting anything hit next turn, or this turn rather. All right, they draw off Cerebellum. Sure. Sprocket Rocket coming in for 3. We will go ahead and block 3. And then another one. Sure. We will go ahead and block 3 again. And we'll deny 8 value off the boom grenades. So I think we'll also just block another 2 here, and then just send the Warmongers on our turn. Again, we don't need to like race them or anything because they're gonna deck long before we do, basically at this rate. Let's get the Warmongers online. We'll name War because most of our attacks, or most of our deck is attack actions. And now we find the Wax on Wax off combo, which is again going to be pretty brutal. Although we might not even play it this turn. We might try to save it for their last High Octane and kind of like IP ourselves a little bit. It kind of depends on how much damage they're able to push. Notably, they also cannot activate Cerebellum here. All right, blue 060. I think I'm fine to start blocking this. So we'll block with the Chase the Tail because it's most likely going to be that, like, if we're going to play anything, we're going to play out the Aspect Tiger Body just for 3. All right, and then a Hyper Scrapper. What is this doing? All right, coming in for 5. So we will just go ahead and block 5 and then IP. I think that's kind of fine. Again, they don't have any action points. So we're fine to just take our IP here. Again, IPing ourselves with wax on, wax off is kind of reasonable. Still haven't found our Transcend card yet, which is, again, fine because we did cut like 3 of them. It looks like they're maybe thinking to play something off the top here. Yeah, so as I was mentioning in kind of in the deck tech portion of the video, you can also consider running Dense Blue Mist. I don't actually think it's all that wrong if you're just trying to target Dio, but this is kind of supposed to be an overlap between Aurora and Dio. But again, I haven't gotten to test a lot into like Aurora Viscerai, which I think it still might be pretty good into, but I need to kind of confirm that for myself. It seems a little bit more suspect in those matchups. All right, here I think we're going to try to continue to IP ourselves, so we're maybe just going to block with a Flick Flack here. Oh wait, sorry, wait, whoops, sorry. Meant to Flick Flack. Something went a little wrong with Thought Shred there. Okay, so we'll go to Flick Flack. And they have a Zipper hit for 5. And unfortunately, we don't have a combo card here. I'm almost inclined to just use Shuko, depending on what their one last card is. Yeah, I think it's fine to go with Shuko here. Because I do want to be able to block more in case we need to. Like, we can block, like, another 6 if we need to. Okay, and this is exactly why I tried to save the block. So they do get to pick between the wax on and the wax off, or in the Wind Chakra. Oh, actually, they don't get to pick the wax off. Oh, it has to be an action card. Wow, that's insane. Insane tech. Yeah, so we will continue to IP with the wax on. They do have one last high octane we have to worry about, and then they'll Cerebellum, or they'll Symbiosis for 2. That's fine. Again, we've denied most of the Boom Grenade value. This might end up being the wax on, wax off turn because they're at 20 cards left in deck, so it seems pretty unlikely that they're going to be able to kind of claw back from this. I think we're just gonna go ahead and do it. It sets it up for 2 turns, which is pretty good. It means we won't have to worry about high octane for 2 turns. And again, the needles in this matchup might seem a little bit confusing, but they're basically just to strip cards out of their hand on the combo turn if they don't know what we're playing. Here, this is coming in for 1, that's fine. See no blocks. Okay, and they're gonna pass, sure. So on our turn, I think we maybe want to try to fish for our last Transcend card. So maybe we're doing 100 Winds, Needle, Needle, or no, sorry, we'll do Needle, Needle, draw a card, and just try to put a random card in Arsenal. Random Arsenal is pretty actually good right now just because of we haven't transcended yet, so we don't have any chi in our deck. Yeah, it looks like they scoop it up. I don't think that they were actually going to be able to get there. Yeah, I think they, based on their deck, only had 1 or 2 max Vs. Okay, they had a max V in Arsenal, and it looks like they just maybe drew a couple of brick hands. So that's understandable, but that's kind of like the core game plan in Dio, and it's actually like very consistent to get there. So it looks like we're coming up on another Homage, some wax on, the wax offs, or the wax off was at the bottom. But yeah, this is like a very, very solid package into Dio. Let's see if we can get another one. All right, we have another Dio. We want to go first. And yeah, just run our normal wax on, wax off package. Okay, so we find the early wax on, which is actually quite solid. They are unbalanced, notably, which is kind of interesting. I think we're kind of just inclined to Warmongers pass. Hand's a little bit clunky, but again, box 6, and then we can develop out the wax on in Arsenal, which is pretty solid. Again, as I've been kind of saying, one thing to keep in mind with the needles is that we're basically just using them to kind of strip cards. All right, we're both going to choose War, which is fine. We'll arsenal our Wax Off. And then we find two other Wax Ons, which is not exactly where we want to be, but it's not terrible. We do want to definitely save onto one. We might even pitch one back into the deck if we can. Maybe send CNC. All right, looks like they're starting off with T-Bone, which again is low damage for the boost cost. And they are on a clean 60, so that might end up mattering over the course of the game. All right, now we have a Pulse Wave Harpoon. We'll go ahead and just reveal Chase Tail so we can block with it. And then I think we're just going to cover this for 3. Looks like they're also not boosting, maybe considering the deck cost here. My next turn, I think I'm fine to just Needle into CNC. We can keep the Wax-Ons in the deck for later. Hopefully we get a shuffle with Traverse at some point, and then maybe they're live towards the high octane turns. They're also running Stonewall Gauntlet, which is kind of an interesting inclusion. I don't think this card is actually all that good in his end, but again, the arm slot's kind of weak for Dio anyways. Like, they do have the one where you can break an item to block 3, which is, I think, actually probably better, honestly. Because most of the time this is like a 3 block anyways, or like a 2 block at most. Looks like they're debating whether or not to break Needle here. Again, if they think we're a more aggressive Zen deck, I think that they should break Needle, but if they think that we're on a more fatigue package, which we're kind of showing them here with a Wax On, they might be less inclined to break it. Seems to be the case. Then we'll go ahead and CNC here. Looks like this might eat up some armor potentially, or might take a couple cards out of the hand. I'm pretty happy with both, honestly. All right, looks like they're opting for all of their armor. So I'm obviously quite happy with this. Okay, we find Transcend card early, but we don't actually have a way to flip yet. We might honestly just play out this Wax On so that we can eventually develop out the Chi and then shuffle, and then we have our Wax Ons live again. It's one thing I'm considering. Yeah, we do have 3 Wax Ons left in the deck, and then 3 Wax On offs left in the deck, so our ratio is still pretty good, and that's why I'm running one extra one. But I can also see if you wanted to like cut down to like 3 and 2, I think that's also maybe good. Like, just the 3 red ones are pretty solid. All right, looks like they're starting with a Cerebellum. Pretty good card, I've heard. Sure. Hopefully we'll get a little bit of value out of our hand blocking this turn. All right, Cerebellum is fine. Playing on another Cerebellum, less fine, but hopefully we can try to get our Zen State live eventually, although they're not doing much with the counters. That is interesting. I'm almost inclined to like break Pouncing Paws here just to start sending some damage and then Arsenal, or hold on to the Preserve. Maybe we just ship our whole hand at them, honestly. Looks like they're... What are they trying to do? Okay, they're trying to undo their whole turn. Sure. Okay. Let's see what they're going to do this time. All right, Cerebellum. Okay, so starting the exact same way. Then they have a Cerebellum off the top at some point. So maybe they're trying to crank it or something. All right, so the high octane, sure. It's a little bit early for high octane, which is one of the ways we can actually lose with this setup. Is that if we're not able to get our Zen State live and then we can't find our Wax On, Wax Off stuff, it gets a little bit dicey. All right, so they're going to outpace coming in 4-4. We'll go ahead and block 3 with kind of our clunky card. And I think they have a Cerebellum at the top at some point, or they draw a Cerebellum. I think this whole turn's a little bit screwed up based on how they undid. but we'll roll with it and see how it goes. Sure. All right, so they got 2 action points. They come with the outpace. I think they have access to 2 cerebellums. Could also just like not transcend this and preserve like Warmongers back in the deck. It's probably reasonable. All right, using one of their many action points. All right, they have another T-bone, which is also fine. Low damage. And they also don't have a ton of gun counters, so their first high octane is actually not doing a ton here. I do ideally want to try to use this Wax on if we can just set up our guaranteed Zen state as opposed to our like maybe we get a Zen state. I think it's generally stronger, especially if we can like block 4 on like a 0 to 60 or something. All right, what will they do from here? They play out another Cerebellum, which we knew they had, which is fine. So they'll draw another card, they'll get another Symbiosis counter. Sure. Okay, they're undoing the card draw, sure. They shouldn't technically be doing this because now they know what the top card of their deck is. Or they know what the card under the top card of their deck is now. But we will entertain this for now, I guess. I do just want to show out the game plan. I don't think it actually matters very much how much they play off the top. Like, it obviously does, but... Alright, coming in for 3. We'll go ahead and block 3. Although we could actually just use our Wax on. That's probably better. Let's go ahead and use our Wax on, just cover it. Okay, they're undoing it again. Sure. Boom Grenade coming in. Also fine. Cranking the Boom Grenade. And what are we doing next? Cerebellum, sure. Symbiosis, take the Symbiosis. All right, now they're coming in with the Zipper hit for 3. Or not. All right, Zipper hit for 3. Not boosting. We'll go ahead and Wax on this. Okay, we'll go ahead and just send 4 with a Breed Anger, and then we will Arsenal our Preserved Edition. We could have soaked up a little bit of pistol damage by blocking with like the Breed Anger here, but I just wanted to save it, hold it back in case they had a bigger threat. Alright, they're going to go ahead and take 4, down to 30, that's fine. Arsenal our Transcend, and we find our other Transcend, which is actually quite decent. We're running like the more defensive transcends, or like the ones where you don't have to have an attack, basically. So we cut like Path Well Traveled and what's the other one? Path Well Traveled and Grain the Tips of Scale and Sacred Art, just because they're more difficult to transcend. And having a bunch of no blocks in your deck is not actually like a conducive strategy to fully fatigue a Dio. We're on a good track though. We've already seen 1 high octane, which is a pretty good spot to be in. All right, pitching a red, which is also probably pretty good for us. So we're going to go ahead and say no blocks on this. And then we're probably looking to Flick Flack and drop in the ocean if they do anything here, but we might just do a normal Flick Flack if they don't ever react. Yeah, we'll just go ahead and do a normal Flick Flack. We maybe should have gone ahead and just transcended off this. There's pros and cons, I think. If they have another attack, I'd rather hold on to both, but if they just play out an item here, maybe it's worse for me. Although I think they're like disincentivized from playing out an item. Although maybe that's also top. Not sure. I was saying they're disincentivized from playing out another item while they have Cerebellums out, like, because they want to just like get action points to cash in the Cerebellum stuff. Okay, they're gonna Banish 2 more cards to get a extra action point for Cerebellum. Sure, that's fine. You're going to Spark as well. Potentially getting a card to Crank or something. Third Cerebellum. Okay. We have all three out of the way early, which is, I think, good for me. Then we can set up a really nice high octane turn next turn, or set up a really nice traverse Kasaya block for a high octane turn in the future. All right, another red Zephyr hit, pitching a red. So it looks like they had a little bit of a clunky hand here. Sure. So we're going to go ahead and block another 3 here, and then we will go ahead and just double transcend just to guarantee that we are able to do it this turn. Put back a Warmongers just to be extra annoying. Gain a resource, gain another resource, won't matter. Take an extra 1 here. Part of me is almost inclined to just make a Zen state at the end of my next turn, but I don't think it's necessary. Probably get away with just like saving it for traverse and stuff. We'll no blocks this though. Sure. All right, we'll go ahead and activate Zen. We'll get Mauling Key probably, and then just do Needle Needle, Tiger Mauling Key. We're super far ahead on deck. Again, our whole plan here is basically just to survive, and we've seen all 3 Cerebellums are out of the way. So we no longer have to worry about those, and then we've also seen 1 high octane, so we just need to dodge 2 more high octanes, and we basically win the game. All right, get him down to 20, Arsenal or Wax On. Still don't find our Wax Off, which is a little bit unfortunate. We did actually get the good shuffle in, so we shuffled back our Wax On, Wax Off. Or our Wax Ons that I think we pitched at the beginning of the game. All right, 0-60 here is fine. I think we're going to go ahead and use the yellow Wax On onto this, which is a Pisserai staple. All right, go ahead and cover that up. Again, they still haven't high octaned yet, so I'm less inclined to block a ton. This is another 0-60, which is kind of annoying, but I think we'll just go ahead and give up our Shuko here. Just deny this yellow boom grenade. I think it's okay here. And our plan is to just block out. They've also used a ton of Zephyr hits. That's kind of interesting. I think they've used almost every single one. All right, another red boom grenade off the top, which is fine. We're probably planning on blocking that anyways. Do have 2 action points here, which is a little bit scary if they have like a max V, which I don't think we've seen any of yet. So it's definitely pretty threatening. Although, how many times have they boosted this turn? I don't know if they boosted enough this turn. Maybe they have. All right, they get another red boom grenade, which maybe means they are confident that whatever they're going to be able to do is going to hit. We can't still just make a Zen state though. Like, we can cover a max V if it's just a max V. Okay, interesting. Oh wait, sorry, that skipped reactions really weirdly. All right, coming in for 2. We'll go ahead and block 3 here. And if it's max V, it's max V, but otherwise we're kind of fine. All right, Pulse Wave is also fine. Show them the Warmongers. Block 3, and then we'll go ahead and just get our Chi. I think we can make a proactive Zen state here, and it's probably fine. I just want to soak up, 11 damage worth of boom grenades. Seems pretty reasonable. We still have our Wax On. We haven't seen any of our Wax Offs. So we've seen 2 Wax Ons and then no Wax Offs. So we're pretty live for the next time we draw a Wax Off. Like, if we see one in the top 8, we're probably just chilling the rest of the game. Oh, looks like they saw the writing on the wall with the high octane. Yep. So again, this kind of showcases the power of Zen State into Dio. They just cannot push enough damage through Zen State to make it worth it. We'll go back to the deck a little here. So overall today, I think I did pretty well. Again, I'm still going to tweak a little bit of the ratios just to make it a little bit more streamlined. I think like the yellow wax on and the erase face are a little bit too cute. So maybe we'll like work on this ratio here. I can also see like dense blue mist being the answer for Dio. It kind of depends on how good the wax on wax off package is good into Aurora and Viscerai, who I think are kind of like the next top competitors for Zen. At least I need a little bit more confidence in those matchups because I don't have a ton of people on Talishar who play that. But yeah, that's going to be, I think, the games for today. And let me all know what you think of the Spice. Again, this is a deck that I spent basically all of last week kind of putting together. And a lot of this inspiration came from the CYB Zen list, which actually like had wax on, wax off package already in it. So basically what I did was I took the CYB Zen list and I just took out the CYB because that part was kind of a meme and run just like a more defensive package to cover like breakpoints and stuff. Because I think CYB is actually a little bit too slow if you're going into like Dio. Yeah, but that is the core of the deck. Let me know what you all think, and if you have any kind of feedback for the deck. Again, I'm definitely looking to get more testing and reps on it. And yeah, with that, I think we'll go ahead and wrap up for today. Thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you all next time.